all you beautiful souls. I'd like to welcome you to Spiritual Talk. I'm your host, Tara. My co-host, Annette, is unable to be with us today. However, she will be joining us sometime soon. I'm hoping, I know she will. I wanted to start off by saying I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. And it was nice to be able to leave the last message that I left with you. And I'd like to welcome you all back and to Spiritual Talk. I tried yesterday sharing a bit of my story of my spiritual journey, my awakening, the spiritual aspect of my life. However, as I had stated, the Matrix likes to kind of stop you from doing so. So I'm making a new video. I watched the last video, and halfway through, it cut off. It shut down on me. My battery or nothing like that was wrong. So here we are now. What I was just basically touching base with on that was during my spiritual awakening of certain things that happened to me and what have you. And recently I decided that I was going to tell some ministers, pastors, what have you. It was after a church service on Sunday. I spoke with them and I gave them like a gist of my journey. And I was asked by them, have I ever encountered the negative aspects of the journey? And my answer was, oh yes. You actually experience it more than once. For the most part, most people experience the negative aspects. Some of us go through it easier than others. With that being said, all our journeys are unique to us. We may experience similar things, what have you. However, they're always unique to us, and we all react differently. For some, it may be a little easier spiritual journey. For others, it may be like, well, from what I've been seeing, a lot of people have been feeling like they're going crazy because they're hearing all these voices, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? Holy crap, will you just shut up? And sometimes you actually do holler, shut up. But it's because it can be so intense, and it's a matter of differentiating, because you have the negative, you get the positive, and you have souls that, like, you're connected, so you're feeling from other people, and you're hearing their minds, and their minds are just blowing up, so everything becomes extremely intense. It feels like we're being driven crazy. Some of us actually attempt, if not succeed, in taking our lives. I myself, I have tried a number of times. My choice was pills, because it was quick and easy, because we're given these pills, so you always have some at your disposal. Do not take your life. Know that you are not alone in this. Start talking about it. Express yourself. Be verbal. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry if they're going to mock you, if they're going to call you crazy. Be proud to be crazy. Because being proud to be crazy means that you are fully awake. You are aware of what's happening. February passed, I put myself in the psychiatric ward of the hospital because it felt like I was an animal. Like, literally, it was like, I was actually craving raw deer meat. That's how crazy it can get. It can even get worse than that. So on that happening, I called the crisis line, and I explained, and they were like, well, go to the hospital. I went to the hospital. And it was strange because when I got in the hospital, like I was feeling energies, but the animal went away because in the hospital, there's actually a field, one will say. Okay, it's like all your supernatural stuff, it tries to subside it. There was one that felt that it was getting in the way of their being able to meditate, which it was. However, I was still able to hear my spirit guides and what have you. You'll find that as you go along. You do have the negative aspects. You can't always ignore it. You have to deal with it. You have to become more powerful than the negativity. So when you start realizing, like, okay, wait a minute, this is actually happening. I'm not hallucinating. There is actual people, beings, entities, spiritual sides beyond the spectrum of what you can normally see, because it all depends on what vibration you're on. You've probably been hearing a lot of vibration, energy, frequency, what have you. Well, this is what's happening. Consciousnesses are waking up. So people are on different vibrations. So if you see someone and they appear to be talking to themselves, don't say anything to them. Because they're not talking to themselves. They're just talking aloud. Think of it like mind your business, because maybe they're on a phone, but they're on a telepathic phone. They don't have to have a headset in their ear. They don't have to have a phone in their hand. Sounds weird, but it happens. As I stated in my previous episode, what have you, I had told you about military. They're training people. Like, there are people that are telepaths, and they're using them to find other people. There's even people who have actual visions. I myself have them sometimes. We say, oh, well, we had a dream. Well, I'll get into some names in a moment, but our dreams are actually adventures that we've been on in either our past lives or while our vessels are resting. Our spirits and souls and what have you, we go on journeys. That's why I like when you have a dream and you remember, it's like, whoa, like it feels so real. Well, it was real. It was a true experience. So when you look at that, okay, I'll give examples of mine, and I did Google dream interpretations. I know that I vibrate on a very high frequency because people have told me. Well, when my journey started, I was having like really strange, weird, sometimes sexual dreams, what have you. And there was, after I really hit my journey back in early 2020, it started in 99, but I had suppressed it for a while, which that's why I say don't suppress it. We need to let it happen, because the more we suppress it, the harder it becomes, and it's still going to come through, and it's going to come full-fledged. And this is why people end up taking their lives. It's not our brain that wants us doing it. It's the negative energies, and I myself felt that the only way that I was going to get rid of this negative energy and keep it from happening to other people was if I took my own life. Because if I took my own life, then it would go with me. Well, that's exactly what it wants you to do. Because if you take your own life, well, you're no longer a light. You can't shed light on them to make them go away. You can't bring out the truth because you're gone. So when you hear of mysterious deaths, well, there is a mysterious factor to it. We all look at things differently. And we really need to keep an open mind, because we think, okay, well, the church is spirituality. Well, it is, but that's not the only thing. Like, spirituality comes with your beliefs, how you believe about something, how you feel about it. Myself, personally, I'm not a religious person. Spiritual? Yes, I am. And I'm going through my journey and my awakening. I will be going through that my whole life, most likely. We all will. Back in 99, when my journey started, I was confused and hearing voices and things were happening, and I ended up having an exorcism. But prior to that, it was confusing. So this one day I decided, well, I'm going to write a poem. And until recently, I didn't totally understand the poem of what I was trying to tell myself. Because when you do stuff like that, it's yourself trying to tell you something, or someone from your collective, your spiritual connections, just someone's giving you a message. So I wrote the poem down, and I called it Life, because it was confusing and I didn't understand. So it was life. Life is a challenge. It works in mysterious ways. It has its ups, downs, and sometimes just upsetting. We live life for what? To be happy, sad, or just to be known? Well, I've come to realize that it's all of the above, because life is the experience. We're living an experience. And with that being said, it can be a rocky one. It can be a blissful one. It can be a joyful one. It's all in the way that we interpret it. It's all in the way that we look at it. And people are saying about programming in the matrix. Well, there is a matrix. There is programming. You're being told, oh, well, you watch this, you watch that. You are picking and choosing. But there's a limited amount of time. And then there's a lot of repeats. It's like, drill it in your head. Drill it in your head. This is how you're to be. This is what happens. We are people who feel like we don't want to be alone. But when you're on your spiritual journey, in your spiritual awakening, a lot of the time it's better to be alone. Because when you're alone, you're able to express yourself a little more. You don't feel like you're being judged. I myself, I speak different languages now. It's part of my awakening. It's who I am. It's my true identity, my higher self, my higher being. It comes out. I talk aloud sometimes because I'm talking to the collective telepathically. Mock me, do what you will. I really don't care, because I know that there are people who do understand what I'm saying and can relate. So it'll come out of my mouth. The other day I was somewhere, and I can talk to animals. Sometimes, not all the time. It's like anything. You get it's like interference. And with all the energies that we've been experiencing, it kind of sends an interference. And don't be alarmed if you can't hear your spirit guides or hear them or what have you, because you will. It's just the period you're in. where you're at in your journey and what's happening around. But people are saying about fear, well, this is a fear-mongering right now. We are in the apocalypse. Don't be alarmed, because I know most people feel, well, the apocalypse, it's the end of the world. We're going to blow up. Well, it's not literally blowing up, but as far as like things that are happening in the world, it's blowing up. Our consciousnesses are blowing up. I've always said the term of thought he farted, but he really pooped himself. Meaning our thoughts just went. So there's a lot of different information out there, but the true answers lie within yourself, because your intuition, like I explained before, if you're reading something or you hear something and you just kind of glitch, it's because, wait a minute, that don't make sense. Well, it don't make sense because it's not true. When you have to shake your head and you look and you're wondering, what? That's when you're realizing truth. And by being in isolation, a good friend of mine, Michael, he has a channel, Our Everyday Lives. He's very inspirational. He's motivational. I actually got in contact with him. It was more off last October, November, when we became more in tuned and connected. He's helped me through a lot. He's helped me to understand a lot with myself and who I truly am. He's been there through a lot, and so has my collective, our collective, because we're all connected. So the stuff that you hear or that people say about, it's not crap. It's truth. We're looking at people who only are concerned with making money. I recently received a message from someone, and it was a news broadcast from the 80s, and at that time they had a cure for cancer, but because pharmaceutical companies could not make money off of it, nobody would sponsor it. Think about that for a minute, people. Because they couldn't make money, because it was a cure, they wouldn't do it because there was no money in it. Okay, so would you sooner have the cure, or would you sooner have someone making money off you and giving you all these drugs that you really don't need because there is a cure? If that doesn't compute, then I don't know what will. I know of people who passed away from cancer, and it was uncalled for because we have these big businesses. And I will say, because in '99, when I went through my spiritual awakening at that time, I spoke to my doctor, and my doctor told me, they give you these pills to subside it, so you don't hear the voices. The voices and stuff like that, that's real. It's natural. It's supposed to be happening. But they don't want you to know. Because if you know, then you have the keys to the universe, because you are able to connect with everyone. Without having to use any device, you can connect on a psychological. When you're at home and all of a sudden a thought comes in your mind and it's of a person, Well, it's because that person's thinking about you. Or they're trying to connect with you on a telepathic level, which we're told, oh, well, no, you're not a telepath, you're just friggin' schizophrenic. You got psychosis. You got a disease. Well, Karen Leaf explains about the diseases. They're actually not diseases. We don't need to be taking this medication. The people who are in the place that keep telling us the medication, they just want in your pocketbook. Because every medication that they prescribe, especially with the new ones, they get incentives. This is part of your spiritual awakening. You wake up to this stuff. We look at each other and I've been noticing, like, and I've been called it myself, a COVID idiot. Or a COVID moron. Anti-maskers. Well, that's not what we are. We're people who aren't going to live in fear anymore. We're awake. And by people coming out and giving their stories and telling their stories, they're there to help you wake up. And part of the awakening is, yes, you do hear voices. Yes, you do connect with other people. I get names. I had one person come to me because I am a medium. And people have noticed it. People have seen it. I'm not ashamed to say it. I had it happen one night, and wow, the person that was with me, they were energetic and laughing and what have you, and I'm inside and I'm kind of panicking because it's like, oh my gosh, this is surreal. Is this really happening? Yeah, it is. That's when I was learning how to understand what was happening. Sometimes it still freaks me out a little bit. I know some of you don't believe in that, but you know what? For a while I didn't. And I don't agree with people charging money because I myself, I'm still on my journey. Maybe they can tune into the person, but in a lot of cases they can't because sometimes it just happens. And you can't control it. I had it happen one night, and I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden, the person, the spirit come in and started asking the person across the table from me about what happened to them when they were younger. Well, come to find out, it was their grandfather. He used me as a way of communication. Because they had done something bad to this person. And they spoke. And then they hugged, and it caused me to cry because I was feeling their emotion. The person who was using me as a form of communication with the other person. I felt it all. The grandfather didn't want to let go. He told the person, I can understand if you don't forgive me. But at the moment that they told the grandfather that it was okay and they could move on, I felt him leave. It drained my energy to the point that I just dropped. The person tried to catch me, but my body went down, and then sometimes I do have my soul collective talk through me. And one of my soul collectives told the person, just leave her, she's okay. Another time I was at my neighbor's place. and they were talking about their deceased child. And the person kept trying to come out, wanting to say, "Mom, I love you." And I couldn't have that. And then they were asking me, "Can I hug her? Can you please let me hug her?" So I was sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, like, is this really happening? What am I going to do? They want to hug their mom because they passed away in 2007. So I'm sitting there and I look at their mom and I told them, like, I have someone here who wants to give you a hug. And they're like, okay. So I got up and I was hugging them, and their child took over, and they started hugging squeezing their mom tight to them and just hugging and crying. And they'd give her a kiss and tell her they loved her. She said, "I love you too." And she was telling me it was going to be okay, and I told her it's not me. And it felt good. Because I felt their emotions and I felt the realness to it. When you're able to help other people with your gifts, your abilities that you're coming into now, please do so. You're part of the collective. We're all part of the collective. And by speaking your truth and coming out and being who you are, not suppressing who you are, and realizing that you have infinite power, and God gave you these abilities, and you are here to help people wake up. The apocalypse is the unveiling of the truth. It's for everyone to be together and help each other and unify, come together as a community. Everyone looks at church as being a hateful thing sometimes, but in my opinion, church is a big part of spirituality, but it's not the only part. To me, church was always about community, coming together. And a church shouldn't be a place where individual groups go or what have you. It should be open to everyone, no matter your religion. Because it shouldn't matter, because it's all true. It's all reverts back to the same thing, and it all becomes spirituality. But I want you all to know that these things do happen, and this stuff is real. Your children, they have invisible friends. Well, those friends aren't invisible to them. They're on that frequency, so that's why they can see them. That's why they talk to them. They don't need a psychologist. They need their parents.